So we're going to get started here. So first off, hello everyone. I'm Rich Redfern. I'm one of Helen's 3 grandsons. And first, I'd just like to thank you all for coming here. From as close as Osprey to as far. We have people who've made the journey from Maryland, Chicago, Syracuse, and even as far as Grevenbroich, Germany. We appreciate you all. And to me, that's a testament to the profound impact Helen has had on all of our lives. Whether you were a neighbor, a colleague, a friend, Helen always took the time to see how you were doing. And Helen led to me, the epitome of a social life, and it's benefited all of us in this room in myriad ways. During Helen's time in Germany in 1959 and 1960, the Redfern family and the Gerritsen family became good friends. This has turned into a truly special, multi-generational relationship that continues to this day. And during their second stay in Germany, from 1970 to 1971, Rich and Helen struck up a lifelong friendship with Krista and Wolfgang Tyson. And we are very honored to have Krista and her friend Jenny here today. They are relationships that have stood the test of time, in no small part due to Helen Redfern. Letters, calls, visits, always with the generosity of spirit, and of course, her ever-present laughter. To quote Hamlet, mostly, Helen's life was gentle, and the elements so mixed in her that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a woman. So getting into our speakers, Helen attended the Manatee Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Bradenton, Florida, and was the president from 1986 to 1988. When I would visit Rich and Helen growing up, we would often walk to the Unitarian Fellowship on Sunday, and sometimes I would attend the Sunday school activities. Indeed, one time as part of our Sunday school instruction, we were made to go up in front of the rest of the congregation and dance the Macarena. I am scarred to this day by that experience. After moving to Amelia Island in 2011, Helen became a loyal member of the area's Unitarian Universalist Church. Here to speak about her is Munsell McPhillips of the Jacksonville Fernandina Beach Unitarian Universalist Church.
Thank you. Sorry about the Macarena. Good morning. I am truly sorry about the Macarena, and I completely believe that happened. Several of us here have had the pleasure of sharing a UU congregation with Helen for about 6 years. For most of us, UUs, the details of cosmic ultimacy are a bit above our pay grade. So while we may have quite different understandings of the divine, like Helen, we share values like the importance of living a life of kindness, of treating all people with respect and dignity, of searching always for a deeper truth and understanding, and of knowing that while we are part of this beautiful world, we're not really the point. Helen walked this path for 90 years as a UU member. Here is a very short poem about a life well lived, written by Mary Oliver, a poet much loved by many UUs. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild, precious life? When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. Here are the instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it. To pay attention, this is our endless and proper work. Listen, are you breathing just a little and calling it a life? I do not want to end simply having visited this world. Helen did not breathe just a little. She breathed deep, laughed much, and will never forget her infectious laughter, and lived well. We will miss her very much.
Thank you. Helen moved to Osprey Village in 2011. She immediately made an impact, whether playing bridge and taking people's money, solving puzzles, or bonding with friends at the dining room, often with a glass of wine at her side. Here to talk about her is Bob Jewell.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning. Helen was quite the lady, and a fun lady. So Helen, gonna have a little fun this morning. I jotted down some memories of Helen Redfern. Memory number 1, she knew how to smile. Take a look at that picture in front of you. This lady could light up a room with a smile. And it didn't matter if she's in the villa hallway, if she's on the shopping bus, or if she's in the lounge, or she's here. This lady knew how to smile. And I'll always remember that smile. Memory number 2, Helen was a card player. Now listen, to all you other card players, you're a different breed. I'm not a card player. When you smell cards, see cards, walk into a room with cards, you're thinking one thing, W-I-N, win. I walk into a room to play cards and I go F-U-N, fun. Not the same thing. She liked to win in bridge, and then I joined her and another group with Nancy and I, and we went upstairs to play hand and foot. I know not many of you know what hand and foot is. This is a complex game. I'm in this fun game, and Wanda Gilfellen brings in a new resident, introduces to me Helen Redfern. You get Helen, Bob. I might win this game. This is a new person. It took Helen 30 seconds to understand the game. I've been playing 2 months and I don't understand this game. So we put our dollar in. Someone tipped her off. You put a dollar in the pot. I put my dollar in the pot. 3 other people, including Helen, put their dollar in the pot. Winner take all. My take on this game is, hey, I'm sitting in Oxford Village card room. It's a fun little game. I have $4 in the pot. One of them's mine. It's not meaning I can't pay my rent if I don't win this pot. Helen's mindset is, I'm at Monte Carlo. It's a $1,000 pot, and if I don't win it, I don't get my fees paid at Oxford Village. She was a card player, and she won a lot. Third memory number 3, Bradenton, Sarasota, Iowa. The great thing about Oxford Village is we meet in the evening and talk to each other. We don't have many smartphones. Not good at smartphones, so we end up talking to each other. Sitting, Nancy and I, with Helen one night, we learned she's in Bradenton. Lived there a long time. We've lived in Sarasota a long time. What common ground. We went through museums, we went through restaurants, we went through beaches, we went through opera, ballet, all of a sudden these lives were intertwined. Then one night, she brings her daughter. And her daughter, Nancy, we sit down and we start talking again about families. Iowa. Now that's a long way from Sarasota, Bradenton. And Iowa came up and I said, oh, we lived in Des Moines. Oh, we lived in Fairfield. Fairfield, Iowa? Any of you heard of Fairfield? Not many. I said, I go into Fairfield every once in a while, call on a little college there, Parsons College. Really? My husband was a professor at Parsons College. It's unbelievable. We spent the whole night, Nancy, talking about Parsons College, Fairfield, and Iowa. Memory number 4. Helen Redfern loved Oxford Village. She loved everything about this place. She loved events. She loved dining. She loved the staff. Nancy and I every year get involved with the appreciation fund for the staff. Helen was almost an auditor. I would come over here at night and she'd say, how's it going, Bob? And I'd say, hey, it's going good. Are you going to beat last year? I'm being audited. Yes, Helen, we're going to beat last year. With people like you, we're going to beat last year. Memory number 5. On my notes it says, go back to number 1. Her smile. The lasting memory of Helen Redfern is that smile. And I'm telling you, this is a celebration. She would want you smiling today, and I can tell you right now, she's looking down, smiling on us. God bless you, Helen. We love you.
Unfortunately, our next speaker, Lee Redfern, is not here today. I had the pleasure of having dinner with our next speaker last night. Her home in Grevenbroich, Germany, has become a wonderful abode for us Redferns and Friedmans over the years. When I was talking with Crystal last night, she mentioned she previously hadn't intended to make a trip over to Florida again. But after finding out of Helen's death, she felt she owed it toward the relationship of over 45 years. That speaks volumes to the person Krista is. Our next speaker, Krista Tyson.
Dear Helen, we shared 45 years of our life with you. That's 1 year longer than Wolfgang and I are married. I met you first time as colleague at the Municipal Library Duisburg. Wolfgang met Rich as professor at the University of Duisburg. Wolfgang and I became acquainted with each other and married 1 year later. It was the 23rd of November, the 56th birthday of Rich. In '73, we had our honeymoon in Clarion, PA. Helen and you, Rich, presented us the most beautiful landscapes around. We had a picnic on Independence Day in St. Petersburg, visited Falling Water, and we went by your red VW Käfer to Niagara Falls. Clarion was the first place in the States we met you. You and Rich came to Europe, and we met you and Jane and Susan in Munich. Met you and Jane in Rumeln, where we lived, and Hanover at Wolfgang's sister and her husband. Helen, you know Rich has been an exceptionally gifted correspondent. He loved the German language and was happy to learn new words and phrases. Since 1996, Wolfgang and I collected all letters on our computers. Letter 117 was the last wrote for you. All those letters are given to Nancy and Justin. When Rich retired, you moved from Clarion to Bradenton. We visited you and Rich in Bradenton 3 times, at last in October 2004. Our most beautiful remembrance is your election campaign on the streets of Bradenton for Kerry as president. It was beautiful to see you, like Baukis and Philemon, working for your political opinion. When Rich died, you moved to Osprey Village, nearby Jane and Phil, where we met you in 2012. We have seen Jane last time 2 days before she died so early. In February 2012, we met Nancy and Justin for the first time at your home. Überraschung. The contact between the Redferns and the Tysons will survive your death. Dear Nancy, you have been twice in Grevenbroich, and we hope in 2017 for a longer stay. Justin has been several times in our little town near Cologne, last time as Überraschung in March. And also Richie and your son visited us. Though Wolfgang and I are childless, we hope the contact will go further and after our time between Justin and Jenny, the daughter of our friends. Dear Helen, to remember you and Rich, Wolfgang made a picture DVD with all pictures since 1971. The second last picture shows you sitting together with Phil and Justin on the sofa regarding a picture you took more than 40 years ago. It shows Rich, Wolfgang, and me at Rumeln. Justin wrote that you really remembered the small village's name, Rumeln. My dear Helen, you lived a full life. I'm glad to be here together with Jenny and attend at your celebration of life. As an important part of our own life, Wolfgang and I will never forget you. With love, Wolfgang, Christa, and Jenny.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Before kind of closing remarks of this, I just want to kind of talk a little bit how it's going to go after this. We'll grab some food, and we'll get to you. We'll get to you, Phil. And we're going to eat after all the remarks. And we're going to have a DVD playing in the adjoining room over there, and also a DVD playing here about her life with subtitles in here. So our next speaker has taken Helen, I think, to more UU congregations, plays, and other events, festivals than anyone else. It's been great to watch their special relationship as it's developed over the years. Her son-in-law, Phil Scanlon.
Thank you, Rich. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I'm Phil Scanlon. I'm her son-in-law, and I've been a member of her family for about 25 years. And it's been really a treasure to know her and to know all her rest of her family and have my family be connected to her family. So it's just been great. What I want to try to share is a little bit of the lessons learned that I've learned from Helen, and just go through a few things that, it seemed to me Helen was a special lady. And so there's some things I've tried to learn from her. First, family and friends. People talked about the smile. When you saw that smile, it was for you. I mean, it was, I'm happy to see you. And you could see it. It was just and it really, that's the way she felt. She was so happy and grateful to see friends and family, and it came through in the smile, and that's why people loved it. But more than that, when you came, she was so anxious to listen to what you had to say. She wasn't anxious to tell you what she had to say. She was started with listening and valuing and caring. And it's just a hard thing. We all know we should listen more than we talk, but she did it, and so she was a good example of that. Travel. She and Rich planned an international trip every year. I mean, travel was part of their life. It was something you planned. And so we got to participate in that, and we got to go to a lot of places along with them. One of the places was the Panama Canal, where Rich had spent 5 years in World War II, and to go through that with them was a treasure. But I think mostly I enjoyed the trips they took their 3 grandsons sitting here. Helen, Justin, Rich, and saw me how to be a good grandparent. We went to the National Park together. We went to Mexico together. We went to London and Paris and probably a few other places. And the kids just had a ball. But they bonded with each other and bonded with their grandparents. It's a very big deal. They knew how to do that. Independence. Helen, as nice and lovely as she was, she held on to her independence. She was not, we fixed up a bathroom with bars and all that to have her move in when Rich died. No way. She was going to, she was going to be independent, and Osprey is a place that allowed her to do that, and she loved this place. But she had her own place. She would not use a walker, not use a cane. She wanted, I'm going to do it. She didn't take the elevator, She was so nice and quiet and gentle and yet so strong. It's kind of an amazing combination. Fun. She did like to have fun, and that's a good thing. We all should like to have fun. There wasn't an opportunity that I would call and say, well, are you free Friday night for dinner or a play or something? Absolutely yes every time. Or I got some grandchildren in, you got time to come over and say hello? Oh, yes, absolutely. Always the answer was yes. She might not have felt up to it, but she got up to it. So that's a big deal. When you don't feel up to it, she got up to it, and she had fun, and that made a big part of her life because she enjoyed it. Knowledge. She read the newspaper every day, the Times-Union and the local paper. She read them both every day. She didn't read them to support her opinion of stuff. She read them to learn stuff. she didn't read them to win arguments with people about her position. She just wanted to know what's going on. And when you did have a discussion with her, it was never an argument. It was never like she's going to win her opinion. It was just a discussion, you know. And we all need to do a little more of that. Health. I mean, 97. She almost got to 98. Last year, we flew up to a wedding in D.C. with her. You know, a few years ago, we went on a cruise with her. She had her health. Health is key, obviously. But she did it because she watched what she ate. I mean, if you saw her at dinner, she ate every bit on her plate all the time. And she had a glass of wine and maybe a cookie and maybe ice cream. But when she went back to the room, she immediately brushed her teeth, and there was nothing after that. Nothing. Because she had brushed her teeth. She had this technique, which, boy, if I could get rid of late snacks, I mean, I really need to do that. I haven't quite bought it yet, but I think about it a lot. And then exercise, never take the elevators, always take the stairs, walk every day. You know, every time somebody come in, she would jump out of the chair. I mean, you couldn't leave without her getting up and walking you to the door. Part of that is her etiquette, her ladylike, you know, approach. And my grandchildren know something about, you know, whoop, you're not dressed right, and, you know, how do you handle the fork? And that was good. That was good. And one other thing, you normally don't touch on this, but finance. You can't be independent. You can't do all this stuff and travel and everything unless you did something good on finances. I mean, it's just part of it. And you learn from that, too. Her and Rich saved. They were professor. I mean, but saved. They had an investment program that always worked. They had a good investor when they retired. And they budgeted and they watched what they spent. As somebody said, you know, when she gambled, she went to win. But, you know, investing and planning and budgeting was key to her financial security, and she always felt financially secure, which is great. And by the way, some of you want to know where all those winnings went from the card game. She saved them up, and about once every month or two, she bought me dinner. So it's all gone to me. And she felt very good about, you know, that was her opportunity to take me to dinner, and she always did it, not out of her budget, but out of card winnings. Her budget was for other stuff. So, you know, when you look at it all up, you got this just wonderful woman. You say, how is she so wonderful, you know? And it's a lot of all these things together. It isn't one or two things. It's all these things together that you package them and you get somebody special. And it's really quite amazing that she was, you know, the type of person we'd love to have everybody in the world like, you know. Would probably be a lot better world, you know. So the other thing was she was, just to conclude, an optimist. She never complained about stuff in the world or stuff's going on in the news. She didn't. She looked at the world half full, the glass. She appreciated when I would be taken to the dinner or plays, and look at the clouds, how beautiful they are. Or the beach, or the place. So she every time we drove, the gratitude for being at Osprey with you folks and friends and family, and for me being close by, and for, you know, Nancy coming down, and I mean, she just was full of gratitude and optimism. She did not ever complain about what different bad stuff going on in the world that we all tend to get wrapped up in. She didn't get wrapped up in that. It didn't take her down. So that's a big deal, I think, and that keeps a smile on. Well, I hope we can all learn a little bit from Helen and take it away, particularly the grandchildren, who got to move it on. The rest of us may be a little further along. Thank you so much for being good friends to Helen. She loved it here, and thank you for being here.
Before I begin with my closing remarks, I just wanted to give a special acknowledgement to my aunt, Nancy Friedman. Nancy came down in January of this year to help take care of Helen, and the sacrifices she's made over the past year are we can't really say thank you enough. Knowing that the person taking care of your grandmother also is a nurse for 40 years, being away in Iowa, it was sometimes tough to see what Helen was going through, but I felt a lot better during a tough time knowing that you were down here. So it's really hard to talk about all the ways Helen influenced my life and everything that she taught me. They are numerous, and they haven't stopped, and they'll often continue to reveal themselves as I go on. But briefly, here's what Helen taught me. Always reinvest your dividends. Touched on this earlier. When I was 9 or 10, Helen set up a TIA CREF account for all 3 of her grandsons. But there was a catch. Every time we were down visiting Helen and Rich in Bradenton, we would have to look up the stock symbol in the paper each day and record how the stock was doing. At the time, I just wanted cash to buy baseball cards. But what I realized now was that Helen was setting us up to take an active interest in financial matters and to make responsible, informed decisions. Helen taught me the importance of thank you letters. More than a few times while I was a teenager, Helen called me a few weeks after Christmas, or my birthday, to remind me that she hadn't received a thank you letter from me in regards to the latest present she had given me. I'm proud to say I've learned my lesson, and it has come in handy many times as an adult. And lastly, to travel. Besides the considerable traveling Helen and Rich did throughout their lives, they made it a point that their grandchildren saw some of the world, to be exposed to different places and different cultures. My cousins, that guy, travel more than anyone I know, and I truly think that the germ of that was planted by Helen. The last time I saw Helen was in March. She had slowed down a lot by then, but surround her with a group of people, whether people she was meeting for the first time or long-known friends and family, and she would rise to the occasion as always. She was, in the truest sense, a lover of social interaction. The last day I saw her, she got to see me play tennis one final time. Later that day, before heading to the airport, I stopped at her apartment in Osprey to say goodbye. I knew, even if it went unexpressed, that this was likely the final time that I would see her. She told me, "Well, you're a wonderful grandson." I told her, "You're a more wonderful grandmom." Thank you all for attending today.